So it turns out I'm practically a doctor now.
Oh,
That's right.
did you go to an online school?
No, but I had my kid at the doctor's office yesterday. It turns out he has a ear infection, but because like we had to book this appointment and we didn't get in to see our regular doctor, we saw one of the other doctors in the office, right? Well, this doctor is taking a look at my kid's ears and he's like, "Do you want to have a look? Have you ever seen what a red ear looks like?" I have not, sir. Will you come on over here and have a look over my shoulder? So now I know what an ear infection looks like. So I'm a doctor.
Do you know how to compare? Because I don't think you can diagnose unless you
Right. Okay. So that is a problem. Right.
would have asked to seen his ear so that you see a healthy ear too.
That is what I should have done. Oh, nuts. Where were you yesterday?
Listen, yesterday I was at the dentist with my kids, so now I'm practically a dentist.
Oh, you
In
are.
there, I looked at the x-rays, I did all the things. So look
Mhm.
at us,
Mm.
doctor. I concur. Listen, medical bills are expensive. If I can book an appointment at Dr. Blakeney's to get my ears checked, I'm gonna save a lot of money.
Right. Yes.
It's very, very expensive to be poor. And I
Mm.
don't think we talk about this much. We talk about all of my financial mistakes on this podcast because I've made so many. Of course, I was $2.1 million in debt at one point in my life and extremely lost and scared and frustrated and all of that. And it was a big hill to climb out. And of course, that's why we have the book and the podcast and all of that now. But have you ever had a period of your life where you were struggling or broke?
Yeah. Ooh, gosh. I think maybe when I had to start paying back student loans, I feel like that was a time that was really heavy, that it was, I didn't even think about them in that way until they were due.
Right.
'Cause, before that, it was just, "Look at all this money, woohoo!" But then also I had spent all the money, and then I didn't have to repay it right away, so it was just like this problem that was sort of over here that I could ignore until I couldn't anymore. So I do remember having to make those first payments. That felt pretty brutal. I've gone into, like, overdraft before, all of those things. They feel very yucky.
They do feel yucky. And the problem is with all of those things, it's expensive. If you look at NSF fees, for example, like when you live that close to the line, it's so dangerous. You have $50 in your checking account and you need groceries. So you get $20 worth of food to try and make that work. But now your electricity bill payment, which is normally $30, comes out of the account, but this month for some reason it's 33. And so now you're NSF because you didn't have that extra $3 in the account. So now you're at negative $45. So the $33 gets returned to your account because it bounced, but you're still now at negative $12.
Mhm.
And then the next bill for next month, the electricity company, it's $33 plus 45 for their NSF, which is $78. And then you're going to owe the next month electricity, which is probably $33 again. So you've got negative $12 in your account, and next month's electricity bill is now $111, which is triple what it would have been this month. And lather, rinse, repeat, lather, rinse, repeat. And all of that started with a $20 grocery problem, right?
Yeah.
And so it just snowballs and snowballs and snowballs and gets very expensive to be broke. And that's not even counting all of the systemic issues and things that happen.
I think I just broke out in hives while you were talking because that's how easy it is to get yourself into trouble. Like, I just have hives thinking about that because I've been there. Absolutely.
And then you have, let's say, because of some of those things that happen to you, now you have bad credit, right? If some of that gets reported on the credit bureau, or depending on what happened on your credit card, if you were max over or whatever, let's say your credit score drops and you lose your job or something. And then you have the ability to get a job, but it's going to require you to get a car. But now you've got poor credit, so you can't get a car. So sometimes your only option is subprime lending. So you're purchasing a vehicle that's not great quality necessarily, and it's got a subprime loan on it, which means you're paying triple what you'd be paying if you had great credit and typical income and all of that kind of stuff. Right now, it's going to take you forever to get out of it because you're going to be underwater in that vehicle before you even start. And then when the car dies, you still owe this huge loan amount. Same is true for a home. Subprime mortgages tend to lend to borrowers who don't have traditional income sources or good credit. So you're paying again, triple the rates what you'd be paying. It's so expensive to be broke with furnishings. And this is sometimes more of a systemic issue because you'll see these things in certain areas where systemic poverty is more of a challenge. And that's because traditional banks don't often go into those areas because they're not going to profit in those areas. And so then the non-traditional lenders move into those areas like payday loan people and all the other kinds of credit and money companies that are predatory. But let's say then you are able to move into a place, but you don't have any furniture. So now you want to rent to own your furniture because, of course, if you need to furnish the home quickly, it might cost you $5,000, even if you do it really, really inexpensively and resourcefully. You don't have $5,000, but somebody comes along and says, I'll furnish your house for you for $150 a month. So you're like, that seems like a better deal right now. That seems like I can breathe. So you get this $150 a month payment, not realizing the interest that's baked into that. And the total cost of borrowing is so high. So now you've paid, over 10 years, $18,000 for $5,000 worth of furniture, which had a markup anyway. So it was technically really $2,500 worth of furniture. It's now $0 after 10 years, or it's broken and in a landfill, and you're still making payments on it. It's so expensive to be broke. Do you want more? I know you do. Why wouldn't you want more?
More
of
what? What do I want
more,
more of?
more of this. Come
Oh.
hang out in the online course, Forget the Hell Out of Debt. The link is in the description. You just got to click it, sign up, and we'll see you in there. It's so expensive to be broke. If you have a health scare, if you have a lack of insurance, so you're not properly insured with either health insurance, dental insurance, you couldn't see Dr. Blakeney at her home garage clinic. She couldn't look into your ears for you. What would you charge for that? $5? You'd probably do it for a latte.
What? Are you kidding? I I was charging at least 25.
$25, look in your ear and be like, yeah, I've seen this before. This is infected. Now you're going to have to go to the doctor to get a prescription. But if you can't afford to go see a doctor or do a visit, you don't have insurance, then you're going to avoid making health decisions, which potentially, makes a health situation much worse and much more expensive down the road. And if you end up then needing medical attention and you have medical bills that you can't negotiate or you don't negotiate, because sometimes people feel embarrassed or they don't, take it into their own hands to get proactive about that kind of a thing. Now you're in medical debt. You're in over your head that way. And so then getting more medical attention is difficult because you owe the doctor. I know you can't be refused, but it's like there's just a thing there inside us when we feel like we lack integrity because we couldn't make a payment on something that we thought we ought to be able to make. So it's just the cost of being broke is so much more. When you compare somebody who's middle class with somebody who's broke and you look at what their banking costs them, you'll find it's less expensive to be middle class. If you look at what it costs medically out of pocket for somebody, it's less expensive to be middle class. And so it just creates even a further divide down the road. Now, obviously, systemic issues aside, there are things we can do in order to kind of make motion towards these things. But what happens sometimes when you're in that broke mindset, and certainly what happened for me, is I was only focused on the next thing. I couldn't think about how to get out of all of my debt. I had to think of how am I going to have enough money for groceries next week when I have these things coming out of my account. I had these little blinders on and I could only see to the next thing. And so I was always just trying to put a Band-Aid on the emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And we see this in the Get the Hell Out of Debt program all the time when people start and they get their quick and dirty together and then they use their quick and dirty for something and then they have to get their quick and dirty back together again. And if you're new here, the quick and dirty is basically one paycheck's worth of money in an account that's not at the institution you bank at that acts as your emergency fund while you're getting out of debt because you're going to stop using credit while you're getting out of debt. So what happens is people do the quick and dirty dance. And so they'll say, oh, I finally got my quick and dirty together. And then they celebrate and then they have to use it. And then they get it back together again, and then they have to use it. And they do this dance over and over again. They're like, I'm not even paying off any debt. All I'm doing is using my quick and dirty. I know exactly what that is because I've been there. It's you're not looking far enough down the road. It tells me you haven't actually properly budgeted because you have no idea what your life costs you. And it's really easy to think, oh, my electricity bill's $33. But if you're constantly in the hole, your electricity bill is $111. So you've got to get that quick and dirty over and above. You've got to grind, gather, be resourceful over and above that next hurdle. You've got to go beyond it if you're going to get ahead. And usually it's an income issue. Usually it means we're not earning enough income. So that's the problem that we have to solve first. But the dance between using quick and dirty, not using quick and dirty, using like it's absolutely normal to use your quick and dirty a few times. Sylvia, we've had on the podcast, everybody inside the program loves Sylvia. She actually just posted a little while ago that it was her 1-year anniversary of getting out of debt. And she had her sweatshirt on that I custom made for her that said, "I got the hell out." And she posted the selfie and was talking about how this was her journey. And she shared again with everybody in the group, I used my quick and dirty 6 times in the 12 to 18 months I was getting out of debt. 6 times. And sometimes people think, okay, I'm going to use it once. It's there if I need it. And if I have to refill it, no problem. But when they have to refill it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, they start to get discouraged. So Sylvia was able to look beyond that. She kept going in spite of that. And that's going to be the key. But that's because you remember she came on the podcast. I gave her a little butt kick about you got to get that income up. You're only looking at having enough. And I hear this when you hear people talk about, what are your financial goals? And I'll hear them say it all the time. And they'll be like, oh, I just want to have enough. I'm like, well, you're going to be broke. You're setting a limit on yourself when you say, I just want to have enough. We don't want to have enough. We want to have more than enough. We want to have abundance because that abundance allows us to give to other people who don't have enough, which is also a really great posture and position to be in. But when you just have enough, you're only ever going to get by, and that's only ever going to feel like being broke. So if we want to change this cycle, if we want to change this mentality, we got to look beyond that. And we got to get into this place where it's not expensive to be broke. We have to get out of all of those little traps that are going to keep you broke and have somebody else profit off you. So you'll know you're stuck in the cycle if the financial decisions you're making are causing somebody else to make money. If the majority of your financial decisions are giving somebody else a profit, you are stuck in a cycle of brokenness.
I feel like you've said all of these things before, but not necessarily exactly like that. And that really hit home with me just now, that we can't make money to just have enough. I really, really like that. I like that so much. Can we put that on a shirt?
We could put anything on a shirt. We can put Dr. Blakeney on a shirt. We could get you a scrubs and you could put Dr. Blake. I mean, you're going to go to jail, but you'll have enough. You'll have just enough.
Listen, scrubs are like my dream.
Really?
Oh, yes. Are you
You can
kidding?
just buy that. You can just go to the nursing supply store and get some and wear them around the house.
Well, I mean, because I am this close to being a doctor now, I feel like maybe I could go wear them.
Good.
But I'm just jealous when I see people walking around in scrubs. I feel like you've got the very best outfit of anybody out there. Comfortable on the top and the bottom? Come on.
With people's urine and feces all over it? Sure. Great. A little bit of blood.
Wait, I didn't know I had to deal with bodily fluids. I'm out.